Ah, the Walkman. Such a revolutionary device, as most devices are described when they're released. Now, as you can see, I have bought quite a few, both Walkmans and sort of Walkman-type devices. Now, I know that ones that aren't made by Sony are supposed to be called personal stereos or something, but everyone knows what a Walkman is, whereas a personal stereo is a bit more ambiguous as to what it is. Now, again, I've bought quite a few, and it hasn't exactly gone very well. Yeah, we're going to be looking at all mine, all the ones I currently have, at least I think this is all of them. It took me a while to remember where some of them were. Anyway, we're going to be looking at them, and I'm going to tell you exactly what's wrong with most of them, because of course most of them are broken or just don't work very well at all. So I'm going to go in order of acquisition, and this is the first lot of actually mostly Sony Walkmans that I ever bought. And it was a lot for parts or repair, so of course they're in not especially good condition. Of all of them, the best one was actually this one, this bright yellow sports Walkman, which sort of worked for a bit when I got it. It did play tapes, they were just not very... It didn't play them particularly well, a lot of wow and flutter. Yeah, but it did work. And then I replaced the belts, well the single belt, to get it to sound better, and made it a lot worse. Yeah, I ruined that thing, unfortunately. Well, again, it was already falling apart, as you can see, it's missing bits. And yeah, when I replaced the belt, it just made it sound actually a little bit worse, so yeah. I suppose I used cheap belts, and they're the wrong size, not wrong thickness. And yeah, I tried adjusting it, and I just couldn't get it right. But yeah. So that's that one. This one, I did change the belt, and I got it to work, but... Again, I think I had the same problem of the wrong speed, and I think I did find a service manual for this and figure out how to adjust it, but again, couldn't really get it right. This thing ruined by battery corrosion. I'm not sure. Yeah, there you go. There's a big brown spot. So yeah, that one's ruined. Now, that one, I think that one can be repaired if I can make a new battery contact. This thing, on the other hand, well, for one thing, the door's broken, and it's just again completely dead because of battery corrosion, and it's just all through it. I think this thing is just destroyed. It's a shame. It's a fancy electronic auto reverse one. Well, so is this one. This one, again, this is a really beautiful unit. It's just a shame it is in such bad state. And then there's this one. Now, this is not a Walkman, but it's a beautiful unit. As you can see, it's falling to pieces too. A real shame because, yeah, it would be a nice one with this beautiful brushed bronze and everything. Really beautiful, but unfortunately, it's a rusted Hulk. As you can probably see in there, there's just rust everywhere, and it's just a real shame. But that's what you get when you pay very cheap. When you get them for very cheap in a lot for parts or repair. Then there's this little AWA, which I went so well with that it's still in pieces. Yeah, again, change the belt, and the belts again they're just too thin, and nothing runs at the right speed. And I think I had tried adjusting this, and every time I adjusted it, the speed kept changing. So yeah, wonderful. But yeah. So, it's junk. Then there's this thing. This thing. This thing is a Sony WM-D6C, which is a not particularly bad unit, apparently. If I can... Oh yeah, it's stuck in the case. If I unhook it, you can actually see the whole thing. If it focuses. There you go, a beautiful unit, all metal, all very nice. Well, of course there's a catch. Oh, it's a very nice battery compartment design, apart from the catch is broken. Yeah, if only that was the only problem. But again, it's a very nice unit. This one, as you can see, is quite worn. There's supposed to be labels on these controls. They're very nice controls, though. Now, you can look this up on eBay and see probably astronomical sums. I did not pay anything like that because this was cheap. So cheap that I went against my better judgment that this thing has random screws all over it and that it wasn't working properly, and bought it anyway. I thought belts, because again it wasn't running properly. It turned a bit and then stopped. And I thought, oh, it's probably an issue with the belts or something. I don't know. And again, for the price, it was worth the risk. And I thought, yeah, whatever the problem is, I can fix it, maybe, hopefully. Just ignore my track record. That wasn't the case. This thing is missing the bracket for a flywheel that holds its bearing. So I don't know why it's missing. I don't know why someone would remove that. I don't know. It's not something that I can imagine getting damaged. It's on the inside. And the thing doesn't look like it's been dropped. There's another mismatched screw. But yeah, it's missing a part. And I couldn't find it online. I couldn't find that part online for sale at all because it's not a normal part you'd need to replace. So I'd have to buy a whole new unit, and it would cost me probably the most expensive thing I'd ever buy, even to buy parts one of these. So yeah, this thing is now just a paperweight. Yeah, there's no hope of getting it working without that bearing bracket thingy. What's it? Which is a shame because again, it's a beautiful unit. But there you go. Don't buy things with mismatched screws, or do, and then maybe I could even sell this for parts for more than I paid for it. Who knows? But I'm keeping it for now because I don't think I'm ever going to see another one for that price. And maybe by some chance I'll come across someone selling that part for a good price. Probably not, but for now, I'll keep it just because it looks cool. Oh, it's got lovely controls. Look at this, just lovely. Anyway, on to the next one. Now, this unit is a Vela AM/FM stereo radio cassette recorder. Oh, and did I mention that it's stereo? This is actually, I think this is one of the, this is the second model that I've seen from them. The first one I saw, it didn't go for very much, and it was a slightly older style design, and it was also gold, and I regretted not buying it. So I then bought the next one I saw a few years later. This thing, it's in a very cheap plastic case, and it is also just mostly plastic with these shinier bits being metal. And I suppose it's not particularly good. Yeah, who would have thought that the gold-painted plastic cassette player is not particularly good? But, and that could be belts. Again, this thing's old. It's from the 80s, so maybe I do need to change a belt. Although, considering my track record, I don't feel like doing it, considering it still works for the most part all right. Wow, it's so shiny, it just messes the camera's exposure settings. Anyway, I still think it's cool. I'm very happy with it. It's in pretty good shape. I think there's a little bit of green in. There's some reason something's correct. I think some batteries. Fortunately, the battery's not in the unit. They're separate. It was still in its polystyrene thing. And it looks like they caused a little bit of damage to the paint, but for the most part, it just looks cool. So I'm happy I got it. But yeah, I wouldn't exactly recommend it if you want a hi-fi listening experience. Well, the radio works. I don't have batteries in it at the moment, I don't think. No. But I just think it looks pretty cool. And it's very 80s, isn't it? Oh, and I think the best thing about it is it's got speakers and two speakers. Unlike the previous one that I saw that only had one speaker, this thing has stereo speakers in it, which makes no difference. You're not going to get much stereo from this centimetre or two of separation. But it is pretty cool, and I do like that they put a full-size radio aerial. Well, not full-size, but pretty decent radio aerial for a Walkman. It looks like the cross between a transistor radio and a Walkman. That's what this thing is. So yeah, I do think it's cool, even if it's not very good at all. So now we're on to the final three, and these units actually came with the green telephone I've got. They're in the same lot, the green Italian telephone that looks more like a box until you pick the receiver up. And the only one I was mainly excited about was this thing, which it turned out to be a bit of a disappointment. So the problem with this is that, let's turn it on to radio, and you can see that the record indicator is on. No one's pressed record. It's not pressed at all, and it can't be pressed. This thing is permanently on record, that's why there's a big note on it. Yeah, it also doesn't play things, which is, I suppose, a good thing, because otherwise it would just erase anything you put in it. I actually made the mistake of putting a tape in. Fortunately, it didn't do any damage because it didn't move it. It only put a slight dropout that is, yeah. I don't even know if it even put a slight dropout in. But it didn't do any damage, fortunately. The tape still sounds fine. If this had been working, it would have just erased a portion of the tape. So, yeah. Turns out this thing is just a piece of junk. So, yeah, and I opened this up and the belt seemed fine, so something else is going on. Actually, let's see what sound it makes. Oh, let's keep it on tape. Yeah, it makes an unhappy noise. But yeah, junk. This thing, I haven't even powered it up. It's been dropped. It's a mono thing. It is so quality that it doesn't even have a stop button. You just press play, and then you just press play again to stop the tape. What an interesting design. You've got a battery check and record indicator. I do like how they've got them together, like they look like some almost left and right channel indicators or something, but they're not. I don't know, maybe that's just me tricking myself. And then you've got this microphone. This thing I'm sure is mono. I eject. Yep, that looks mono to me. Yep, it is just a very cheap unit. I want a premium quality battery holder that doesn't even go in properly and just sort of sticks out. Yes, lovely. Ugh. But again, it's a mini cassette recorder, except it doesn't use mini cassettes, it uses normal cassettes. It's just miniature compared to a massive unit, but it's not exactly tiny. But again, this is a cheaper little dictaphone thing. So I suppose you can't fault it for what it is intended for, but it's not really anything I can get much use out of. Or if I wanted that, I'd just use my gold one. If I wanted a trashy recording cassette thing, portable cassette recorder, I'd just use my gold one because it looks cool. Anyway, we come to this thing, which did not excite me at all. This was the least exciting thing of the bunch. Well, not the least, but out of these three cassette things, this was the least exciting one for me at the time when I saw it. Then I put batteries in it and plugged in headphones and put in a tape. And it worked. It sounded decent. Which, I must say, this is the first time I've picked up a cassette player. Well, one of these little Walkman-type devices. Put batteries in and everything and all that. And it's worked properly first time. Not horrendous. Okay, it's not perfect. But again, this thing never would have been perfect. It's one of these ones that only has 3 buttons that people like to say probably justified things about them. But, hey, it works. It sounds all right. It's fine. And I've dropped it twice already and it hasn't broken yet. But yeah, I'm quite impressed that this thing works decently. So yeah, I think my quest is certainly not over to find a good Walkman, but I think for now, for the time being, I'm pretty happy with that one. I did like the yellow one because it was so flashy and the gold one, but no, this thing does its job, but it's Sanyo. I do like Sanyo. They always make good, dependable things, I find. Well, I suppose dependable considering what the cheap garbage I buy. I'm surprised some of it still works so well after the mistreatment it's been through. But again, yeah, Sanyo. So I really recommend Sanyo. They're cheaper than Sony usually, and I think they're really good quality usually, and pretty nice units. They look cool too. This one, I do like the look of it. But yeah. The funniest thing is I don't even like listening to music on the go, so I don't know why I keep buying Walkmans. I suppose they're alright for going about the house sometimes, but yeah, I don't like music on the go. So, But there you go, I hope you've enjoyed seeing my Walkman follies, my Walkman woes. I should just buy one decent one. I probably could. Yeah, if I add up what I've spent for these, I could probably have bought one decent one, but then it'll just be one. But why buy one when you can have many that are trash? Anyway, hope you enjoyed that.